You know, at the time, all these choices seemed right for our situation. You know, they've just turned out not to be. I just don't know. The only answer I can come up with is because I didn't screw anybody. But, you know, I grew up being raped and molested by family members, strangers, and my mother never did anything because she was too busy having to have men in her life all the time. That when I grew up, I went the opposite way. I didn't want a man to feel control or powerful over me, so I did everything myself. I put myself through college and my first car, my everything. I did it all on my own, and I never wanted to be like my mom. I'm worse off than my mother. I'm 41 now, and after all these years, this is like what my life is like. You know, living out of a clothes basket or carrying around pictures, and you know, nothing's like mine anymore. I don't have any furniture or anything like that. So, 3 years ago, last month, at the end of last month, I left my ex-husband, and so me and the girls and all my belongings are packed up in this little one-bedroom apartment of my boss's. 2 weeks after we moved in, he died of a massive heart attack. So me and the girls go, I talked to Angie, I explained to her what had happened. We're getting evicted because the landlord's literally writing an eviction notice out, and explained to her what's going on. She takes pity on me and she says, well, you can move into my house. The problem is my daughter has 6 kids and they're staying with me. And I was like, okay, I don't care at this point. I didn't care if it was a floor to sleep on, you know, whatever. So that's what happened. Everything I'd ever worked for since I was 16 was left back in that apartment. I knew the room that we were going to be staying in was probably literally from the door to where I am back. And it had a twin bed mattress and like a little makeshift closet. And it was very small. And I knew that both my girls and myself were not going to be able to actually be in this room. So that's the time I talked to my ex-fiance about taking Madison, who's our daughter. Yeah, it was the hardest decision I ever made, was having to pick up the phone and call my ex and ask if he would take Madison. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do, was besides calling Jesse from the motel, that was the first hardest phone call, was my ex to take Madison for a little while. And the second one was picking up the phone to ask Jesse to come get Hannah and I. Yeah. It's still a different kind of prison. It's not our home. It's not my home. It's somebody else's home. I'm 41 and I'm living out of somebody else's bedroom. He says, look, I'm moving out on Friday. I'm just waiting on my VA to kick in. I've already found an apartment, blah, blah, blah. You know, you and Hannah can just stay there until you figure out what to do next. And I was just so grateful at that time because there was nowhere else to go. And the night we're in this apartment, I wake up to the guy trying to get in the bed with Hannah and I. He's like, well, if you want to stay under my roof, then you need to give it up. I never did that. In fact, had I started doing that, I probably wouldn't have moved as many times as I did, because it all ends up about sex with these guys. I just wish there was more help in Junction City, because I know I'm not the only person going through something. There's just nowhere to go, though.